Florida fans, there it is. There it is. That's the Florida that we all talked about all offseason. That's the team that we talked about potentially making a college football playoff run. That's the DJ Lagway we talked about being one of the better quarterbacks in college football, much less the SEC. I digress. Final score in the Swamp yesterday, 29 for Florida, 21 for Texas. We're going to unpack both sides of this right now. But if you're a Florida fan or a Texas fan, make sure you're subscribed. If you're a college football sicko, also make sure you're subscribed because college football, nothing but college football year-round. Follow my Instagram, Twitter, at JD PicKell. Get at me on there. Let me know your thoughts on this one. I want to start with Florida, though, because that was complimentary football, and it was gorgeous. I mean, it was like seeing an old friend. That was the Florida we saw at the end of last year, beat LSU, ruin Ole Miss's college football playoff chances. The DJ Lagway hype train is off the rails, and we're all here for it. That was why we said all those things in the offseason, because of what you just saw. And the complimentary football, I think, is what is the most encouraging piece to me of what we saw from Florida yesterday. Because I think Texas still pretty good up front. Like, I don't think all that much less of Texas defensively. I think they had a lesser showing. I think it's tough to have a great showing when your offense leaves you out to dry. I digress. But how about just committing to the run game? Something we've been asking of Florida for the better part of the last couple of weeks. Turn around, hand the ball to Jaden Baugh 27 times for over 100 yards on the ground. To me, that was the table setter in this whole thing. Like, I was watching this game, and we'll talk about Lagway here in a second. There's a point in that game where you're seeing him, limping around, and he's getting pulled up after a touchdown pass on one leg. But I'm sitting on my couch thinking, if I'm Florida, I might not throw the ball the rest of the game. Like, that's hyperbolic, but why would you? You are just getting whatever you want on the ground against Texas. You are imposing your will against Texas. This offensive line that we talked about being so great during the offseason showed up in a big way, moved Texas against their will up front, and Jaden Baugh ate greedy. So what happens after that? You get to play what I just said, complementary style of football. And having Dallas Wilson in the lineup, like, is that all it was? Is that all it was the better part of the last couple of weeks? You just add in that true freshman. He goes 6 for 111 and 2 touchdowns. Dude is a freak show on the perimeter. Everything you saw in the spring game, in some way, shape, or form, you saw that translate to this game against one of the better defenses in college football in Texas. And so when you have the run game demanding attention, you get matchups that are ideal on the perimeter, and Lagway capitalizes. Like, it had to feel good as a Florida fan in that moment, seeing what you talked about all offseason actually show itself in a game against still a really talented Texas defense. Now, Texas has got some soul searching to do, and we'll unpack that side of it here in a second. But seeing the defense show up too, I mean, the defense has always been there. Like, it's just good for the defense to be rewarded, I think, in that kind of spot. Because it had been a build, and you go into that game and you're home dog by a touchdown and just all those things. But you go out there and you don't flinch with that, operation on the other side of the football trying to get right. You hold them to 2 yards of carry, create 2 interceptions. Like, there was just a different temperature to Florida yesterday, and the defense stayed the course all year long, to this point at least, and allowed the offense to maximize what they showed up with yesterday. So that's the good part of this for Florida. And I don't want to take anything away from it. If you're a Florida fan, enjoy this one. Savor it. Soak it in. Hope last night was phenomenal for you in Gainesville. Hear me very clearly. At the exact same time, I watched that game happen and was left there sitting as that thing hit triple zeros, and just thought, man, if I am a Florida fan in this moment, as good as this win feels, I'm pissed off, dude. I'm pissed off. Because where was that all September? And some of this is very revisionist history because Dallas Wilson not in the lineup. Okay, I mean, was there a different approach to practice this week? Did you need the USF loss? You need the LSU loss to get this? And that's exactly my point. Like, why did it take that to get this? Because this was always under the hood. DJ Lagway's always been this guy at quarterback. This offensive line's always had this up front. Like, when you commit to the run game, I don't think that, USF is worlds better up front than Texas. I don't think LSU is worlds better up front than Texas. You commit to the run game, do those games go differently? And if they do go differently, you're sitting here with one loss, and that one loss being to a top 5 team in college football, arguably the number 1 team in college football in Miami. How different does that put you in a spot based on what this puts you in a spot the rest of the way? 3 losses may leave you out of the college football playoff, which this year was supposed to be about for Florida. And so I don't want to be the guy who says, hey, good for Florida, however, this still is a bummer. But that's kind of how I feel out of this one. I'm not trying to take anything away from Florida. I'm just saying if I'm a Florida fan, the longer I sit with this, the more frustrated I can become as I talk myself into the games that probably we should have won. Because that just shows you it wasn't about those teams that you lost to. Like LSU's a good football team. I still feel good about them. But Florida plays this brand of ball, it's not close. USF could be the team from the G5 that makes the college football playoff. Florida shows up with that intentionality, it's not close. Dallas Wilson is a phenomenal player. I don't think he makes the difference in either of those games, quite frankly. Just my own humble opinion here. So the question then becomes now, hey, can Billy Napier keep his job in Gainesville? And again, some of that is something that will get solved down the line. So I don't want to borrow trouble if it's not, needed at this point in time. But I remember very vividly, after the Miami game, Florida loses. I come in here that Sunday morning and I say, I'm out on Billy Napier. And the response from social media was like, you're just now out on Billy Napier? Really? We've been out for a while on Billy Napier. Spots like this are why I wasn't all the way out on Billy Napier until that moment, because I knew stuff like this could still happen. Why? Because we saw it happen last year, because it was September. So everyone's saying, we knew Billy Napier. We were out on him from the jump. It's like, okay, well, some of y'all now this morning having a different tune about that. I digress. How possible is it for Billy Napier to keep his job? I think the answer to that lies in how possible do you think it is for Billy Napier to only lose one game the rest of the way. Not saying that he gets fired if they only lose one game, but I am saying the games that they would win if that were to be the reality. That means you go 4-1 at A&M, Georgia, at Ole Miss, Tennessee, Florida State. 4-1 in that stretch, I think keeps your job, in my humble opinion. I know it would be 8-4. I know it wouldn't be the record you signed up for in the preseason, but that's what? 2-3 wins over potential college football playoff teams, and you're going to fire the guy? I don't know. Now, again, if it's me, I've already seen enough from the Billy Napier experience to believe that there is, still more to this story to feel uncertain about. So I'm not changing my stance on things just yet from post-Miami. But just understand, this was always still in the cards for Florida. Like a win like this was always still possible. That was factored into my assessment of the whole Napier situation. Now, I openly root for the guy. I hope he keeps his job. I hope he's the guy for Florida next year just because I appreciate the way he goes about things, and I think the conversation around him over the course of the last couple of years has been a little bit irresponsible. But all that's to say, you're happy you won. You're pissed it took all that this September to get to where you're at right now. Does Billy Napier keep his job? If they win the games they're supposed to win and go 4-1 against those 5 teams, I think it's very much so on the table. How likely is that? I think that is something you have to answer for yourself. Now, on the Texas side, there's a lot to unpack. Arch did not play well. 16 for 29, 2 picks. And what doesn't show up in the box score is the throws that he missed that would have probably changed that game. Like Emmett Mosa in a double move. Deep shot. If he hits on that, how different does the rest of Texas' game plan? How different does the confidence from Arch look the rest of the way? I don't know. So Arch did not play well, and I want to make sure we sit with that, we address that, we label that. Arch Manning, not good enough. If you got more from Arch Manning yesterday, maybe, just maybe, you win the football game. Big maybe, but I want to make sure we say that. There was a lot on Arch in this spot. I told you I'm going to wait till the Florida game to tell you what I think about Arch. Did not think he's nearly at all been good enough, and definitely wasn't good enough in this game. That is the obvious. That is as black and white as I can say it. And I make that super black and white and super simple to make sure that it's not a thing where I excuse Arch of anything from what I'm about to say next here. The problem at Texas is bigger than Arch Manning. As bad as Arch looked, as many throws as he missed, I'm watching Texas offensively, and I'm hoping things are going to work from a Texas fan. I'm not expecting things are going to work. I'm not sitting there saying we got the best, arguably, play caller in the sport. We're going to be in good shape here. Because Texas yesterday, it felt like, and it has felt like a lot of times this season, that they I don't want to say rarely, but it has been more rare than you would like for all 11 to be doing what they're supposed to be doing. And it shouldn't be that way. Like Texas is the machine in your office that you just got, supposed to be brand new, state-of-the-art, supposed to be working at a high level, and just for whatever reason, it's making funny noise when it's printing stuff. It can't copy things correctly for whatever reason. Your computer isn't compatible with, there's always, for whatever reason, something wrong with the machine that is the Texas offense. Arch made a couple of throws yesterday that were big time. Shot downfield to Ryan Wingo. Even with that shot, he had pressure, had to evade pressure, step up and throw the football. But, like, that's the thing. Florida harassed Arch yesterday. Offensive line did not look nearly good enough. And the playmakers, quite frankly, too. I mean, there wasn't enough from the playmakers throughout the course of this year to be where, Texas expects to be at this point. Like, there were still questions about the playmakers coming into this game. And I think those should have been, in some way, shape, or form, validated yesterday. They weren't winning at the level they expect to win at for Texas on the perimeter. The defense, yeah, I'm not 100% ready to sell my stock there just yet, but in that spot yesterday, not good enough. So my worry about Texas is the things that don't look good, Arch included, they're fixable, but are they fixable to the caliber of which you expect them to be fixed at? Like, is that offensive line going to be fixed to the point where you're going to go compete for a national championship, much less fixed to the point where you're going to go win the SEC? I have a hard time believing that relative to what they're going to have to do the rest of the way here. Is Arch Manning going to be fixed to the point where he can, make up for some of those inefficiencies? Are those receivers going to be fixed to the point where we can scheme them open better and they can have more explosives downfield? It's all possible, but all those things being fixed to the degree of winning a national championship, which is what I think Texas expects this year, that to me is a much tougher ask. Not saying it can't happen, but that's where I have more worry around Texas than I had going into this game. So forget the national championship for a second here. There's real danger for Texas of missing the college football playoff. How wild does that say out loud? Texas could miss the college football playoff. They still got to play Oklahoma next week, and Oklahoma in that front seven is vicious. Going to apply as much pressure, or going to apply more pressure maybe than what Florida applied today. Still got to play Georgia. Hey, you still got to play Vandy. How about that? Vandy is still a team you have to deal with in the SEC. Texas A&M. Lose one more game, you're at 9-3. I think your at-large prospects probably not in a great spot. So then you got to go make the SEC title game. It's an uphill climb right now for Texas. So they got to look in the mirror. A chance to flip this thing on its head a little bit if you can get a win over Oklahoma and create some momentum. But the problem is definitely Arch in some ways, but also the problem to me is bigger than Arch. So for Texas, how do you utilize this game? Do you use it as the taste your own blood, now we go kind of mentality, or is it a thing where we see more of the same from them the rest of the way? I don't know, but regardless, it's just a weird feeling, I would have to imagine, if you're a Texas fan waking up today after that loss. And also a weird feeling if you're a Florida fan waking up after that win. Not devaluing it, but where has this been and why did it take this? So let me know your thoughts on this one. A lot to unpack on both sides. Florida fans, Texas fans, make sure you are subscribed. Caden Smith on the ones and the twos, myself, JD PicKell. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. We'll keep this party rolling. We will see y'all next time.